Hola mi gente, vamos a pintar esta bellísima gato. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now this painting, it looks hard because of the design, but I'm going to walk you through it step by step. It's going to be about 30 minutes and I'm going to draw it with you. We're going to go and outline it and figure it all out, and then we're going to paint it in, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed painting this pumpkin. Isn't he scary? He's so fun. Yeah, this is a really good one. This is a good one for beginners, by far. One of my easier paintings. It looks hard, but trust me, it's not. I'm going to go through and explain how I did, and you're going to watch me as I do it, and I'm going to explain all of the fur and everything, and his little mask that he's wearing, and yeah. This is a really good one for Halloween. This is a really fun one for a paint party. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun together. I'm excited to see how yours turns out. And also, thank you so much for patronizing my business. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. It means a lot, really. Thank you.
These are the things that I prefer to use when I'm painting. I have a 16-inch by 20-inch canvas. It is a canvas that is stretched over a wood frame. I prefer to use these ones because I feel like they're easier to hang. They're lightweight. The surfaces are prepared so I don't have to gesso them. And they're pretty much just easy to go. So this is what I use. If you have a flat surface, that's okay too. Be careful if you're on paper so you don't get any holes or anything. I'd recommend doing this on canvas. The brushes I will be using today is a big square brush, a small square brush. That just means that the bristles are square. I will be using a fan brush to make the fur. It's going to make making fur way easier. I'm also going to use a small liner round brush, which is going to help me with outlines and little fine details. I need water so that way with my paint, yes, I prefer to use a pitcher. For me, the pitcher seems to work very well, makes things easier for me versus just using a cup. I like how I can use this area right here to bend the paintbrush. Okay, so now also I recommend paper towels. I tend to go through about 3 to 5 paper towels per painting so I can wipe off excess moisture off of my brush. I do rely heavily on a hair dryer just to make this thing go a little faster, because if I allow the paint to dry slowly, this painting theoretically could take me like 2 days. And I kind of would like to, you know, I don't want my paintings to last forever because then I feel that I procrastinate and I never get to it to finish it. So the hair dryer really helps. Also, when I use my paint, I prefer to use paper plates. Very simple, easy, cheap, buy them in bulk. It's a good idea because at the end of the painting, I don't have to wash any dishes or a palette or anything. I can just throw this away. So much simpler, easier. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on this drawing. Now, this seems like a very complicated drawing, but really, it's actually not. And here's why. Because we break it down into sections. I'm going to go through step by step and show you how to do it. You can also change the design. I'm going to show you how this design is and how I'm going to paint mine. But if you want your cat to be in the facing the other way, or like right here I have the spider. If you would like to have 2 spiders, if you want to move anything, you want to change the face, go ahead. Make this painting your own. I know that you're a great artist and you're wonderful at what you do, so I know that your painting will turn out super awesome. So go ahead and make the design that you want to make. Now, I'm going to show you using my small liner brush here, and I'm going to paint over where I have already made the design, and I'm going to show you how and the step by step in the process on how I created this design. I'm going to use black paint so that way it'll be easier to show up on the camera. Now, you can be brave if you want to and just go ahead and do this design with a liner paintbrush just to get the outline first. You can be very brave and do that. Now, if you are using a pencil, I recommend that you place a book or something under the surface, so that way, because there is like about an inch of space under here that I can poke, and see that you don't want to poke any little holes in your painting. So go ahead and place a book, so that way when you're drawing, you can have like something that you can put your hand down on and you can press into, and you won't poke a hole in your painting. Okay, so let's get started on this drawing. Also, another thing, if you notice about this painting, on purpose, I have simplified it a lot. So that way it's really busy and there's a lot of stuff going on, but this is just a road map. I am on purpose doing the least amount of lines just to have a basic idea of road map of where I'm going. So don't put a lot of details into your drawing, because then you're going to have, like, you know, if you're going to do like yellow on the moon, you're going to have to put a lot of layers of yellow to cover up your pencil marks. So just do the bare minimum. And then that's going to be awesome. All the magic is going to come when we paint. Okay, so for the cat. Now, her body is center and a tiny bit down from center. The center of my painting is about her chin. So what I'm going to do is, since that's the center, I am going to make a smiley face here. I'm going to come over with some yellow on the eyes. So I'm going to break up my smiley face just so I can have her whiskers coming out. So I'm doing a smiley face at the center of my painting. Very simple, very easy. We're going to think about this as in different shapes. We're not going to think cat, we're going to think shapes. So I have my smiley face kind of towards a little bit of the top of the middle of the canvas. Then I am going to start in the middle, and right in the middle of the canvas, and I'm going to go down. I'm going to bend out to the right just a little bit, and then I'm going to come back in and straight down. Now this is going to be the front part of her leg. And so I have her leg. Do you see how I've made a letter T? After that, I'm going to make a little backwards C right here. And that's going to be the front of her foot. Now, before I fill in the arm, I recommend doing the back. So that way we can make sure that our arm is going to be the right thickness that we need. So since this is the front of the body, this is the back, I'm going to come over here with some space. I'm going to swoop it down into the left. You see that? A little swoop down to the left. And then I'm going to curve back over to the right. And this is going to be her butt. See? See how she's a little curvy? Almost like a flattened S shape. So that's great. So now I'm going to need, let's do the back side of the arm. I'm going to come up to kind of the middle where her armpit would be, and I'm going to go straight down. And that's going to be the front leg. Then what I'm going to do is, she needs a foot, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give her a little foot. See what I'm doing? A little foot right there. Now she's gonna need a body, and you know cats have these rounded leg areas, right? Like the knee bone, but it's like very big and rounded. So from the foot, I'm gonna start about halfway back, and I'm gonna do a backwards C. And it's gonna be very big and round. I almost have right here the number 3. The shape of a number 3 almost. Now, she needs to have a belly. So let's make that belly, and we're going to join these 2 lines right here. And there you have it. There's the body of the cat. Now, let's make a tail. Since we're already here, I like to have portion control. And so I'm going to kind of stay in this area. Now, I want her tail to be big and fluffy, but still kind of making sense that her tail would probably be there. However, this is a painting that is hyper reality, which means that I'm taking artistic license, so her tail is going to be a little bit bigger than technically a cat's tail would be, but it's going to look really cool in the composition. So right where her knee is, just under where her knee would be on her front leg, I'm going to come straight out and to the left. Now I'm going to go above where her knee is, and I'm going to go straight out to the left, and I'm going to kind of swoop up a little bit. Not a lot, just a little to give some curvy personality. Now, I want her tail at the end to be jagged, so I'm going to make like little teeth marks, little jagged lines, and that's going to be her tail. Well, since her tail is there, it needs to wrap around to the base of her butt. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to think it's swooping down and to the left, so I'm going to continue the motion of where this top line would be. I'm going to imagine it going across her body, and then I'm going to take it and bring it over a little bit up, and then I'm going to swoop it down, and I'm going to make the letter C. A big letter C, and I'm going to join it with the bottom of her butt. And of course, it's a thick tail, right? So we want to join the thickness of the tail. So I'm going to go with this bottom line that I've created here, and I'm going to imagine what it would be like if I moved across the body. I'm going to find where I think it should go, and then I'm going to make another little smaller C that's going to be inside of the big C. Yep, there we go. So there's the body of the cat. Now let's work on the face. Don't be scared of the face. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to make a gumdrop shape that is upside down. Okay, so I find the middle of the smiley face that we created at the top, and I'm going to make a small base at the top and a bigger one. The bigger one at the top, a small one at the bottom, and then I'm going to join them. They're going to be a box. So that's the shape of a gumdrop. Now that's going to be where her nose is. All right. So now let's continue. Now let's do the eyes. There are many different choices of what we could do with the eyes. I want to say that her whiskers are going to be yellow, and she's going to have eyeliner. So I'm going to make an oval that is a really skinny oval. So a smiley face and then a frowny face. I'm going to leave that open, and there you have it. There's one eye. So now I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to do a little eyeliner here, a little frowny face, and then a smiley face, and they're going to be really skinny and close together. Now let's make her mouth. I'm going to come and make a frowny face that's underneath of the nose, a little frowny face, and then I'm going to go up and to the right, and then I'm going to go up and to the left. So her face is an upside down letter M. All right. So that should be about good for that. Let's go ahead and work on the hat. Now with the hat, I want to change and make my hat the color brown. So because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and wash my liner brush and get some brown and put it on my palette. Now I'm not going to need a lot right now. And because this is acrylic paint, I do like to, I like to take out a little bit at a time to keep my paint moist while it's still in its original container. So I'm washing out my brush, get all that black color. I'm going to bend my bristles a little bit to get that excess water out. I'm going to come over on my paper towel, and I'm going to pull across, and that's going to get the moisture out of my brush. I have very moist paint here, so I don't need to add any more moisture to it. Now, if we look at the hat is a triangle. So I'm going to find the smiley face and the nose, and I'm going to go up a little bit, and I'm going to make a swoopy line. So I'm going to start, see my smiley face? I'm going to go to the left side of my smiley face, and at the top, a little bit above there, about a couple inches, I'm going to go ahead and make a swoopy line that's going to cut across. It's going to go across the eyes, and it's kind of going down a little bit on an angle. A little bit of an angle, and I'm going to swoosh it up, and it's going to be the shape of a Nike symbol. Do you see that? It's like the letter J. It's a big swooshy check mark, just like a Nike symbol. So now I'm going to go back over to my original line that I made, and I'm going to make another oval. I'm going to start from the line, go to the left, not too far, just a little bit, enough to make it make sense. I want this side of the hat to be the same distance as this side of the hat so that they match. And then I'm going to come back around with the oval, and I'm going to come and go back up and connect it with the other brown. So now what this is doing is showing the bottom part of the witch's hat. So it's almost like I made a loop, and then I have a hook on this end. So now I want to make the hat pointy. So I'm going to find the nose, I'm going to go straight up, and I'm going to go to the left a little to the highest point of what I want my hat to be. And I'm going to swoosh it down, and I'm making a triangle. And the triangle is going to curve to the left. It's a very curvy triangle. Now let's fill in the bottom just 'cause. See how I made a triangle? So now I'm going to go ahead and finish out the top of the hat. Now this little swooshy mark that we made, we want to connect it. So I'm going to go from the point of the swooshy part, and I'm going to bring it up and down and around, and it's going to get to an area so that where the bottom of the triangle where it would match. See how it's looking more like a Just Do It symbol from Nike? Okay, so now all we have to do is there's going to be a buckle right here. So I'm going to come over here, and remember that loop we made? We're going to go to the top of the loop where it started bending, and we're going to go to the left and up. Just a little bit, not much, because remember we have that buckle there. And there's our hat. Now I'm going to go ahead and wipe off some of the the brown on my brush. I'm going to go back and get some black, dip it in, and I'm going to cut across the hat, and this is going to be where the buckle is. So across the witch's hat. And then it's going to taper, right? Like we want to join the lines. So on the right side of the hat, I'm going to swoop it down and try to get the curviness of that curve of where the hat is. And I want to join the other part of the square, the corner to the corner, and I still want to keep a little bit of a curve, not much, going back up. And there we go. Now to do the buckle, I'm going to paint the inside of the square where the buckle would be. So I have the inside here, and I'm going to paint a square. However, there's going to be a little clippy area in the middle of the buckle. So I'm going to close the square, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a space right there, like an opening. Do you see how there's an opening right there? So I have a very like rigid letter C. And then I'm going to make a little bit of a triangle right here for that opening. See how there's a little triangle? Now it looks like a little monster with a face, like he's about to eat something. Now that little monster, I'm going to go ahead and cover him with black. I'm still using my liner brush because it's a small little area. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to come like, I have the monster right here, right in the middle. I'm going to come over here to the side. I'm going to do a straight line up, and I'm going to make this line a little crooked to follow the shape of the house, the hat. And you notice I just made another square. So I'm a rectangle. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to cover in this rectangle with black. Okay, so now I want to come across and make a line really thick right here at the top of the buckle, just like what I did at the bottom. All right, that's looking really good. I like it. You're doing a good job. Okay, so now remember how we did a rectangle here? Let's do another one. Another rectangle. We're going to fill that one in. Make sure that you have the areas you haven't painted are nice and square and sharp. We want them to be very sharp angles. Okay, so now what I have left is a circle with a little pointy thing in it, and that's going to be our buckle. We're going to allow that to dry and we'll come back with the yellow. Okay, so let's go ahead, since we have black already, let's go ahead and work on the spider. Now, the spider is going to be hanging off of the hat. So, the tail and the butt is here. So I'm going to come over to the side and maybe an inch down, and I'm going to make an oval. And this is going to be the spider's body. And then I'm going to draw a line from the butt of the spider all the way up to the hat. However, before I get to the hat, I want to make a little bit of a spider web. So I'm going to draw a line with the black straight up. You could also do it with gray if you wanted to. I'm just simplifying this painting a lot. Okay, so now to make the spider web, I'm going to make a triangle. I stopped kind of about, a little bit above where when the tail is swooping here. So it's about the area I stopped, a little tiny, just a smidge above where her tail is over here. And I'm going to make a triangle, and it's going to be an upside down, super pointy triangle, and it's going to be really skinny, and I'm not going to fill it in. And it's going to attach to the hat. There we go. See, the little triangle, very simple. Okay, so now I'm just going to give a couple little, and I'm going to turn this one into another smaller triangle. Do you see how I made that big triangle? I made it a little bit smaller. I'm going to go ahead and do it again and make another little triangle on this side. So I have, well, it's really a rectangle. I mean, a kind of triangle, sort of. 2 lines. Now I'm going to join the lines together. And there you go. There's the spider web. All right. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and do the pumpkin and the moon. I'm going to wipe off the excess paint on my brush because I'm still using a liner brush for the outline. And I'm going to wash it in the water. And let's see, what should we do? Let's get some orange. I'm going to take some orange out onto and put it onto my palette so we can do the pumpkin. Notice how I'm only taking a little bit of paint out at a time, the paint that I need to use. Okay. So now I've got the orange, I'm dipping into it. Now, don't stress out about the pumpkin, okay? If the pumpkin's too hard, I'm gonna go into a lot of detail with him. If he's too hard, you can make this painting way simpler. The way you would do it would be you just paint an oval right here. That's all you do. Just paint an oval right here and it'll make your painting way simpler, and you don't have to do the jack-o'-lantern with the face and all the little detail. But I want to make mine really scary because a lot of paintings I've painted lately, they're not scary. And I want this one to be scary. So the cat is here. We are going to make like a half oval. So I'm going to come down a little bit and I'm going to do half of the circle. This is going to be the back part of the head. And the cat is sitting on top of the pumpkin. And I'm going to stop. This is going to be a tooth right here. So do you see the shape I made? Make sure I'm still on camera here and you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So I made a frowny face, a big frowny face, and the left side of the frowny face sits a little bit lower than the right side of the frowny face. Okay. So now I'm going to do the mouth, and it's going to be super jagged and scary. So here's where we have artistic license and kind of just make it up. I'm going to make his teeth really spiky. So I'm going to come across and make them very jagged. Oh, oops, I accidentally dabbed my paintbrush into my brown. That happens to me a lot when I'm not paying attention. I'm going to give him no tooth right here just cause, like he broke a tooth. Like he was a shark, he went eating something and a tooth fell off. And I'm going to make his teeth really jagged. All right, so I have added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teeth right there on the top part of his mouth. I'm going to swoosh it down and make a really flattened C and come down for the mouth. Okay, so now we need to jag it back. So I'm going to go up and down, and I'm choosing to make my teeth really pointy and scary. And they're all crooked. All my little jagged lines are super crooked. I'm going to do one more. One more, and the kind of the base of his body is right here. Now I am going to have grass underneath of him, and that's going to be super cool. So I'm not going to worry about painting in all that right now. So now we need to adjoin the mouth a little bit so we have an inside of him. Otherwise it's like he has an open mouth and we're just looking right through. So I'm going to go ahead and make a curvy line here. And that's going to be the inside of his mouth. Yeah. You know what? This tooth isn't really popping out a lot, so I'm going to make it pop out a little bit more. Yeah, so I can make it a little sharper. There we go. I like that better. Okay, so that's great. You're doing good. Oops, we need to do the eyes. I almost forgot. Okay, the eyes are basically 2 triangles. So over here, I'm going to make a triangle, and it's going to be a long one that's sitting on its left side. The left side of the triangle is long. And right there, there you go. Triangle. Now let's make another one. Now I want to give him an evil kind of stare. So I don't want the left side to match exactly perfect to the right side, so he has a lot of character. So because of that, I'm going to make a triangle, but I'm going to make this eye a little bit bigger because he is kind of a little bit on the side. Like we're not seeing his face directly right on. There we go. See, another triangle, and I did make it a little round at the top. All right. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for that right now. And let's go ahead and make the moon. I'll wash my brush, get all that orange off. You know what we forgot on the spider? I totally, completely forgot to give the guy legs. A spider needs legs. So I'm going to go, just so I don't forget, I'm going to go and do it right now. So I cleaned my brush, I got into the black, and I'm going to give him 4 legs on each side. And each leg kind of has its own personality. It's got a basic idea. I've got 2 of them that go up. They're like little whiskers almost that go up. And then I got another 2 of them that go down. So almost like a letter L. Do you see that? Very simple, very easy. I just did it all in one swoosh. I'm still using my liner brush. I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side. Now I'm going to give him some character, like he's reaching. So there's going to be 2 of these little guys going down. And then there's going to be 2 of them going up. The more character you give him and he's not even on both sides, the cooler he's just going to appear to be. He's going to be in motion. Okay, so since we're still working on the bottom area, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick moment and do the grass. And take out a little bit of paint, and I'm going to put it over here, just a little. All right, so ready for that grass? Make sure I'm in the view of the camera. All right. So this is going to start from, it's going to be very jagged, very similar to what we did with the teeth. So I'm going to come over here and make a little jagged area. And I come back over here. And it's like mountains back and forth, almost like I'm making those teeth. Very jagged. And pointy. Very pointy. Now I'm going to bring it back down to the bottom of the canvas. I like to paint the sides of my canvas. It's something I do. And there you have it on the one side. Now we have to connect the other side. I'm going to, since I have a little jagged area on this side sticking out, I'm going to do the same on this side and make this side sticking out. There we go. And there's the grass. Okay, so now let's do the moon in the sky. go ahead and wash my brush because I'm going to go into yellow right now. I want to make sure I get all of the color off of my brush so I don't make the yellow any darker. Going to add a little bit of yellow to my palette. I don't need a whole lot. Okay, and I come in here, and you can make your moon a circle if you want. It might be easy and fun, but I seem to notice that I all the time seem to be painting round moons. So to be different, I'm going to make it a letter C moon. It's going to be waning or waxing. So it's pretty much a big C next to a small c. And we're going to cover the inside. Since it's a small area, I can still do the liner brush. I might need to give it a couple of coats of yellow to really get it to be poppy and really just yellow and strong with that yellow. If you're using thick body paints, you won't need to use as much yellow. If you're using a thinner body paint, you might have to give it several coats. That's cool. I like it. That's good. I was thinking we could take a moment since we have the yellow and do the buckle and the eyes just because we already have it out. So I'm going to go ahead, and she's kind of a mysterious kitty. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the eyes with yellow. I'm not going to do a lot of detail because this is very cartoony, the look, and it's heightened reality. So because of that, I'm just going to let it go a little bit. Like, I'm not going to have to, like, all the details. I mean, I could and make it, like, less cartoony if I wanted to, but I'm just going to, like, she's almost possessed. That's why she don't have an iris. Okay, so I got the two eyes. I want to wait before I do the belt buckle to make sure that that black dries all the way, so I'm not pulling in the black color with the yellow, because then we'll make our yellow really dark. I'm going to take a moment and do the inside of my pumpkin as well. Like, let's say there's like a candle inside of him. You could make the inside of him black. If you do that, it would be like there's no candle in there, and it's very dark and ominous and scary. But I kind of feel like a little bit of that warmth kind of just would be cool. I like the smell of pumpkins when they're kind of sort of baking with the candle. So I'm going to fill in both the eyes with yellow. I'm still using my liner brush just because it's small areas. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the inside of the mouth. I'm being very cautious not to touch the edges where the paint is wet with the orange, because I do want it to be very bright and yellow. I want a lot of contrast there. This is so much fun. I'm really glad you're hanging out with me today. I'm having a lot of fun with this painting. Super Halloween and in the moment. Coming along very nicely. Now, if you can see your pencil marks through the yellow, don't worry. I can see some of mine through the yellow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to dry fully, and then I'm going to go with the second coat. If you allow the paint to dry fully, you'll get a better coverage, and the next time that you paint with your next layer and add more paint onto it, it'll adhere easier and stick versus just trying to add more yellow that's still wet. Here we go. That's looking good right now. I can check to see if my moon is still pretty wet. I'm going to need to give it a minute. Okay, that's fine. We'll come back to it. Now I was thinking about adding some mist, and I think if we used gray, it would look really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get my gray. I'm just going to take out a little bit. I don't need a whole lot with that gray. I'm going to put the gray next to the black. You know, we forgot to do yellow on that buckle. Mine is still wet. I can tell because my paint is very shiny on the canvas. Okay, so let's go. We've got some gray. Now, for the mist, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do a spiral. A really cool spiral. And it's going to go clockwise. And it gets a little bit bigger and the spiral is going to open up. It's a good spiral. So almost a little bit above eye level. Now I want to make my spiral a little bit thicker, so I'm going to come over here and make it bigger. And I'm going to fill it in. And I'm going to let some of the brush marks happen naturally. I like to have brush marks in my paintings. I find it gives the painting more personality. So I kind of made it come out and be really thick here and have like a corner. It almost looks like a number 7 with a spiral at the end. Do you see that? The number 7 and then a spiral, and then it's going to get skinny. Now we want to show movement in the air. This is very similar to like how Van Gogh painted when he did air pressure. He made little circly circles, and then he kind of just did lines to show the movement of the air. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to go through the cap, but my paint is still wet, so I want to be careful I'm not dragging that black color. And I'm going to go up over to where the cat's boobies would be. Do you see that? And then I'm going to pretend to go through, and I'm going to keep that line coming out. So do you see here? Almost quite to the tail, but not quite. And that's just going to give some motion and some movement into the painting. Now for the head, I kind of want to do the same thing up in the sky. Because when Van Gogh did these, he always did several of them. And it looks better, you know? So this air is going in this direction. Now up in the atmosphere, we want it to go in that direction. So we're going to do the exact same idea. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to make sure I'm still in the view of the camera. Okay, so I'm going to make a counterclockwise circle, just to be different. Going to come around, and it's small, and then it's going to get bigger, And then I want that to swoosh over to show where the air is coming from. I'm going to go behind the hat, not in front of the hat, and I'm going to bring it over and over to the moon. There we go. That looks lovely. I'm also going to make it a little bit thicker so it has personality. Because remember how we made this one have like a little cornery number 7 area going on? I'm going to do that with this one over here. And it's pretty much a really fat smiley face that is facing over to the right. So if we had a face right here, we're making the smiley face. We're going to make the letter C and make the letter C really fat. That looks really nice. I like it. So now I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to make it look like a heart. So I'm going to do another spiral that's on top, but this time I'm going to go clockwise. And in the end result, it's going to look like a heart. So kind of the same circle area. And I'm going to bring that line all the way down. Now it's going to be above the pointy area of the hat. I'm not going to cross the hat. And right here I'm crossing, and it's like an X right here that I'm making. Now, to give this one personality, instead of stopping right here, that looks kind of boring, doesn't it? So I'm going to overlap, and I'm going to go over the moon. Right over the moon. And this gives a layering effect, and it makes the image a little bit more visually stimulating, a lot more cooler to look at. Do you see how I've created a heart? You're doing really good. I can't believe it. We're almost done. Okay, so now, just how I have a really thick bottom area, I also want a really thick area on the top too. So round, see? Remember how I told you about that smiley face? That looks really nice. I like it. You're doing a good job. With this gray, I'm going to go ahead and use it for some whiskers. But because this is cartoony, they're going to be around the eyes. And I know it sounds a little weird, but it kind of gives her like she's wearing a mask. So we're doing kind of two things at the same time. I'm going to come up here by the right side of the nose, and I'm going to bring that whisker all the way under her face and out. There's one whisker. Now I'm going to go up around the top area of the eye so that way she can look like she's wearing a mask covering her eyes. I'm going to close that in like a triangle. And then I'm going to bring another whisker out. Okay, and then I'm going to make another one go a little bit higher. So she's got 3 little whiskers going on there at varying lengths. So it kind of is dual purpose a little bit. It's very cartoony. Now let's go ahead and do the other one so that way she can match. Now, I want the right side of the face to be a little bit different than the left side of the face so it has personality. So remember how I did the triangle around the eye? I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to make a nice little cool triangle that goes around the eye. But I'm choosing to not connect right here on purpose just to give it some extra oomph. Now I'm going to bring that whisker back down. I'm going to make it a little kinky. Since these ones over here are really straight, I'm going to make this one do like a letter J, so that way it's got a little kinkiness to it. And then we're going to do another whisker. And this one is going to be like a letter S with a really long bottom tail. Ooh, that's lovely. She's beautiful. Yeah. So there we have it. There's the drawing. You did a really good job. Okay, so now we've got the background and filling in all the colors. I am going to, let's see, what do we want to do first? Now, I really think that painting the background is an awesome idea first before we go through all the other steps because of overlapping and everything. So I'm going to put my stuff over here from the side. I'm going to take out my handy dandy hair dryer. And I'm going to dry what I have. I recommend at this stage of the painting that you do the same thing. I will be back here in like 3 minutes. all the way dry when it is no longer shiny. If you glob on the paint a lot, like I did right here in this spot, I can see it's shiny. It's not really picking it up in the camera, but I can definitely see a shine. So I need to be very careful in those spots that I don't get paint everywhere moved around, so I don't get colors so I won't get the colors that I don't want. So I'm going to choose to paint my background blue, so it's like she's outside in the grass. I'm going to take out some blue and put it onto my palette. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. Now originally I was choosing to do this with a big brush, but the more I stare at it and I see it, the more I'm like, there's so many little intricate areas that I think I'm gonna opt out of the big rectangle brush, and I'm going to go into my small rectangle brush. Now, this could be considered a small brush if you're painting on a small canvas, so really just what works for your canvas size that you've chosen. So I'm going to take a moment and fill in all of the background. I'm going to use a little bit of paint at the time and just have a good time and not try to stress out too much and just fill in the background. Now I have a method when I do backgrounds that I seem to really like a lot, especially for paintings like this where it's very textured. So I really don't play around a whole lot with the paint. I don't try to touch it up many times and press the brush around a lot of times. I just kind of apply the paint and wipe it across, so it's kind of applying and taking off paint at the same time. And when I'm doing that, what's happening is it pulls the paint, and so I get areas where there's light blue, and then I get some other areas that are like dark blue. And because I'm using a rectangular brush, the look is going to be very square and rectangular. So see how I've got all those brush strokes in there? I want to try to get as many brush strokes as I can, and I feel that when I do that, the sky just looks more textured, like there's more depth to the sky. You can also do this with a round brush. If you do it with a round brush, what's going to happen is you'll get the same effect, but instead of having it like little squares everywhere, it's going to be more rounded. Oftentimes I find if I try to do this with a round brush that I tend to I'm wiping the canvas more and making more marks. So then it kind of, sometimes the more I'm marking it and wiping, the more it's getting blended, which could be cool. And you can be tonal with this as well. You can also use other, like many different shades of blue, and you can make it all gray and dark and stormy. You could add some purples in there maybe, like the sun is setting. So it's kind of up to you. I am going to go ahead and paint all this open area. And I want to give us a minute. I like to do this in pretty much every class. There's always a moment in a painting where there's really not a whole lot to say and talk about, So it's a good time to just hang out and maybe do like a little meditation and be quiet for a minute, or maybe turn on some fun music, like some Halloween music. The only reason I don't have music on right now is because I teach a lot of students, and everybody has their own little preferences of what they like and what they don't like. So just to make it simpler, go ahead and turn on some music on your end, and I'll be over here hanging out, having a good time. So I'm going to be quiet for, I don't know, this might take me around 20 minutes because I am using a smaller brush and there's a lot of details. So it might take around 20 minutes. I'm just going to be quiet and kind of meditate and pray a little bit and just be, collect my thoughts. And it's a nice way to do this method, what I'm about to do here. It's a good way to have like a mental break, almost like a yoga for the brain, just to like unplug from social media for a minute, from the news, from the stresses of like work and like I have a kid, so it's my little break to just not for a minute, So I really do value these moments that I have where I can just take a break from life for a minute. So go ahead if you'd like to participate with me. let's do that. And when I get towards the end of what I got going on here, I'll start talking a bit again and answering questions. And you know, if at any time while I'm painting this you do have questions, you can always email me. I have it set up on my phone so that when I get an email, it dings and it shows right away, so I can see your message right in the moment. So if I'm super busy, give me like 30 minutes. I'll get back to you and answer your question. And oh, also one more thing before I go all quiet. I did want to ask if, like, at the end of the class, if you would really, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess when I first started painting, it's a little bit of a bravery, but if you would like to share your painting with me, I would love to see what you got going on. See how yours came out and what colors you used, and if you changed the design or just how you did it. I'm really interested. Totally, I want to see how, like, if I'm doing a good job teaching and whatnot, and see how, like, I know you've taken a couple of my classes. I want to see how you're progressing as an artist. So, yeah, please send me a picture. I am, like, all over social media. I have all the accounts. And if you don't want to be all public or anything, you know, just send me an email or something, or like a private message, and then that way I can see it. And I promise I won't share it or anything. It'll just be you and me. Okay, so let's let this meditation begin. Oh, wait, sorry. One more thing I wanted to mention. Part of what I do a little bit is I try to clear my mind. Sometimes I pray. Sometimes I'm just quiet and still and I listen. Like, I'll put on some nice music, or I just listen to the brush strokes. And I try to imagine that each brush stroke, that sound, is the sound of my stresses, my anxieties, the things that I had, the dramas that happened. That brush stroke is the sound of those dramas going away and disappearing and giving me a break. So, yeah. Take a moment and clear your monkey mind. I'm going to take a quick moment and turn my painting just to make it easier for me to paint it. That way I'm not stretching my arm or my neck or my back into an uncomfortable position for a long period of time. I recommend you do the same thing. was a lot of fun. I totally zoned out like all the way. I had like a mental break from stress. I really enjoyed that. That was fun. Yeah, thanks for being patient with me and sticking through to the end. I don't know about you, but I feel like I just totally took a break of brain power and stress and anxiety, and it was such like a good vacation. I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was good. Okay, so I've got the background. I'm liking it. I painted all the edges. I made a lot of detail. Now I know that it's not showing up that great on the camera. However, in real life over here, this is looking really nice, very super textured. It's got my signature look, my style. Yeah, I really like it. Okay, so wiped off all paint on my brush. I'm gonna go in the water here, clean my brush out. Bend the bristles just a little bit so I can get some of that moisture out. Wipe my brush a little bit. Okay, so this one's good to go. Now let's see. It took me forever to paint. So when I first started, this stuff's already dry. Okay, so now we can do a lot of things. We can go into many different parts. I was thinking it would be fun to work on the hat a little bit. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm gonna go ahead, take out my little liner brush. Make sure it's clean and it has a nice pretty point on it. I'm going to go over here and do the buckle. I'm going to go in with the yellow. And remember how we made that round square area and then we had our little monster in the middle with an open mouth? I'm going to go ahead and fill it all in. Now I can see some of my marks from underneath, but that's okay. I'm just going to go and put a couple different coats on it. The more coats I put, the more those marks will just go away. I'm going to need to put one coat and allow it to dry fully before I put on the second coat. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to have to cake on a lot of paint to be able to cover up those marks underneath. Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover it all. Boy, I sure do enjoy painting. This is a lot of fun. And isn't this painting coming out really pretty? I'm excited to see your painting when you're done. I'm sure it's really cool too. Now, if your painting looks exactly like me in every single way, then you fail. You didn't do a good job. I want to see your voice, so don't get discouraged if it doesn't look like a carbon copy of mine. I want to see your voice and your uniqueness and how you see the world and how you create art. I want to see your brush strokes and all your little happy accidents. I kind of enjoy when I have happy accidents on my painting because sometimes some cool things really happen when I have those accidents. So hopefully you've been blessed and you've had many happy accidents that have made your painting super awesome. While I have the yellow, my moon over here is all the way dry. I just want to go ahead and give it an extra little coat just to, really sharpen up those edges and just, cover up some of those marks I had underneath. I'm giving it a lot of brush strokes. So there's a lot going on here. Yeah. Right, that looks good. I like it. All right.
I don't know, the face down here with the yellow that I added looks pretty good. Not really much I'd really want to change on it. Okay, so now let's work on the hat. I think I might want to, no, I'm going to go with the small square, my small square brush that I have. I'm going to go in with some brown. I'm going to do a base coat on my hat. And I want to pay attention to brush strokes and in the direction in which the brush strokes are occurring. That'll help with some movement in the painting, kind of implied lines. I'm going to go ahead and do this little triangle area up here. Right. Okay, originally I was going to have this part be the under part of the hat, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to make this the top part, like it's bent down. All right, that's looking good. I like what I see. Okay, so I've got that. How about we work on the pumpkin while we're waiting for everything else to dry up there. So I'm going to wash my brush. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my liner brush to do the pumpkin just because there's so many small little areas. I feel the liner brush would be a lot easier. So I'm going to do like I did with the hat and fill in the pumpkin. I'm going to kind of keep my brush strokes going in curves and different ways and all in the same direction, so that way I get those brush stroke lines in there, and that'll give a lot of emphasis on the pumpkin and on the movement of the pumpkin and like its little folds and bends.
It's coming along very nicely. I'm really happy with what I got. I hope you're happy with what you have on your painting. So we're just filling in the orange all over, having a good time and relaxing and enjoying what we're doing. The more you relax, the better your painting is going to be. I only take out a little bit of my paint at a time on purpose. The reason why is because I'm working with acrylic paint and it dries really quickly. So I only take out what I need as I need it. And this painting is fairly easy in that I'm not really mixing colors here. I'm just taking them straight out of the tube and letting them be what they are. I am being mindful on the brush strokes so that they kind of match up as to giving me kind of wrinkles in this face a little bit. Ooh, that's looking very lovely. I'm super happy with what I got so far. It's very nice. Now I am going to come in on the hat and with the pumpkin, I'm going to do more. These are the base coats that I'm laying down. Now I'm going to go ahead and do some grass. I'm going to do something that's going to be really fun and easy. And we're going to do this. It's going to be it's almost like a practice for when we get ready to do the cat. So I already have some green in here. I'm using my fan brush. Now, the fan brush is a brush. You can see right here, it fans out. So this is the handle of the brush. This right here is called the ferrule. And on the ferrule, the bristles are connected and they fan out. Now, I use these in a lot of paintings, especially when it comes to fur and grass. They're really good. The fan brush, very easy. There are a lot of ways that we can paint the grass. We can use the square brush and everything. If you do not have a fan brush, you can use your liner brush, and just like how I went with the pumpkin on the liner brush, you can do the same thing and just be mindful of the brush strokes, each individual blade of grass. But I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to dip it in my green, get a nice helping coat of green. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to kind of swoosh up. Swoosh up. And I'm going to do a whole row that's just swooshing up. Now I do want to be mindful that I made these little pointy areas. If I hadn't made these pointy areas, I could probably right now with my fan brush create them. So I'm pressing on the bottom and I'm pushing the brush up. Now what this is doing is giving me a texture on the painting that are little lines. All right, so I have a line going. Now I'm going to come on this end and do another line over. And by doing it this way, from top to bottom, left to right, what I'm doing is I'm creating a textured effect where the blades of grass appear to be in front of each other. And this is going to give me illusion in depth. I'm not going to overbrush. Sometimes maybe I might go over a section twice just to make sure I get all the little white areas done. But that's it. Like, see how I get little strips here of white? I might go over that section twice just to kind of get that white. So you want to do the top blades of grass first, and then you can come down little by little. It's really going to give it a nice textured look. Well, that's looking beautiful. And it's much easier than doing it with a liner brush. It would take forever, every little blade of grass. While I have the green out, I'm just going to go ahead and paint the side.
Now, if you wanted to, as you are doing this method, you can also add in a second color like a lighter green or maybe some yellow. But I want the grass to appear really healthy, so I don't really want much green grass, yellow grass, and at the same time too, this is very cartoony. So the images. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort into making lots of different tones, so that way I can still kind of keep that cartoon look. And I don't know, it's pretty much just the same thing. You would just, you know, maybe add some yellow in there or some lighter green if you have it to make it easy so you don't have to mix color, but that looks great. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush and clean it off really good. Make sure I don't have any paint drying on that brush so I can have this brush for a long time to come and do many paintings with it. I like to take care of my stuff. I recommend that you take care of your brushes, especially fan brushes. I mean, they're only like $1 or $2 more, but you know, over the course of a year, that $1 adds up. Especially like me, I'm painting several paintings a day, so that $1 or $2 really does kind of add up. Okay, so now I am going to do some more. Now we got the cat. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to show you really quickly how to do the cat. And then after that, if you are a beginner and you haven't painted in a million years, this would be a good place to stop. But after I show you how to do the cat, I am going to go into more description and add more layers and make this painting extra special. And put like, I'm going to put more with the pumpkin that's going on. I'm going to fix the sky a little bit. So I'm going to make the head a little more 3D. So I'm going to show you the fur. And then after that, if you choose to move on and put a little bit more 3D effect into your painting, hang around and paint with me some more. I just want to make sure that I'm not spending too much time just trying to do the basics right now with doing all the base coats. Now, I would think that this painting would look really cool if the cat was black. You can go ahead and do whatever color you want. If you have an orange cat, a calico, if you have, you know, white little booties, socky kind of cat with different colors like white paws and black fur, go ahead and do the cat that you want to do. It's basically the exact same method, the same technique that I'm going to show you right now. The only difference is you would just add different colors. You would just be using different colors. So when I use a lighter color, use a lighter color. If I use a darker color, use a darker color. I'm going to make my cat a black cat. Now you could just go ahead and fill in all the white area with black. But I am going to use the fan brush and I'm going to show you how to make the paint appear to be more furry and fuzzy. So I cleaned off my fan brush really nice. It's got nice little points on it. Sometimes after I wash my fan brush, I like to, oops, I got paint on my arm. Be careful that you don't accidentally do one of these and move the paint around. But anyway, so I washed the brush really good. It's pretty dry. I like to go with my finger here and do one of these bits, and it kind of separates the fibers a little bit. And I feel that when the fibers are separated a lot, that you seem to get, I do, I get like those individual little brush strokes, like with what we were kind of doing down here. Okay, so I got black and gray. I could go in with some white, but I'm going to make this cat pretty dark. So I'm going to go in with the black. And it's just like how we tried to do a layering effect with the grass. Remember how we started at the top and we kind of went across as a line? So that way it was like we were making lines that overlapped onto each other. So that's the same basic concept. So for instance, I'm going to start at the bottom here and work my way up. And when I do that, the lines are going to kind of overlap each other. And that's going to give it, it's almost doing like the opposite of the grass because of the way I was going. So
it's going to give it an overlappy look. So I'm going to start with the bottom hairs. They're going to come onto the pumpkin just a little bit. And I'm going to be little tiny and do like a row. Okay, got that. I covered it. Now, do you see what happened? All I ended up getting was a black foot. Okay, so now here is what we're going to do to try to make it more fluffy. Okay. So I'm going to go back into the gray. I was in the black. Now I'm in the gray. Now I'm going to go to the bottom and do just a couple lines, not a lot, just a hint of lines. Okay, a hint. Do you see that? It's not showing up really good on the camera, but I can see that the hint of the gray. Now we can take it a step further. I have a black cat, and her name is Rain. She's a really cute little skinny cat, and she has, her outer fur is black, but the inside of her fur, like the bottom part, the closer part to the skin, is white. So I'm going to go over here with a little bit of white. I don't need a whole lot. And I'm going to add that to the mix. Now, when I add this lighter color, I'm going to constantly have to be washing my brush a whole bunch of times back and forth. And that's just part of the whole deal of trying to do fur. So if you have your utensils right and you're constantly resituating your brush before you apply the paint, and you're not just applying the paint, you're going to get a better result with this. So I'm going to do the same thing where I'm just putting a little bit of paint. I mean little. Okay, see this? It's little. I hardly put any paint on there. And you notice how I had my finger before that I did that before I dipped it into the paint, and now I can see a whole bunch of different little fibers coming off of my brush. So now I'm going to add just doop, doop, and try to make them long. We don't want dots, we want little long ones. See what I'm doing here? Like that? That's a lot. I know. That's a little bit too much. So that's okay. I can come back in with some gray over here. And I can try to cover up some of the areas in which I feel that I've added too much white. Okay. Then I could go probably back into some black. And then I could just, you know, make some little black areas. Little swooshes. Painting is just a series of swooshes. And there we go. And it's pretty much that same technique throughout the whole piece. So I'm going to go ahead and go with some black here. And I'm going to cover the body. I'm going to do my lines. Now with the black, it's almost like, since I'm just kind of covering the area with my fur, it's more like I'm taking a moment to sort of practice my little strokes. Don't have to cover up all of the area with black. Now I want to remember where this is, okay? I kind of want to have a difference in color right there from where the knee is and the arc of that knee. Now, this little leg over here is going to be challenging because look at how wide my fan brush is. And this leg is really small. And if I do this, I get like a huge line. It's a huge line, and that's not what I want. So because it's black right now, I can just go ahead just to give it a nice coating. But when I go back in with the white and the gray, I don't know if I'm really going to want to turn and do that. It's okay to have some lines, but I'm trying to let each little fiber and hair be its own little thing. All right, so I'm liking what I got right there so far. Now I'm going to go back, wash my brush. Since I'm going back into a lighter color, I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to dab it and pull. Never dab and push. Always dab and pull. So you can keep that pretty point. Fix your little fibers on your brush when it's dry, back and forth. Make them kind of all separate. The more they separate, the better. All right. Now I'm going to go back into that let's do some gray. I mean white, it really doesn't matter. The whole point is going back and forth over and over again with many colors. Okay, so now I want to make the knee part a little bit lighter, so I'm going to go ahead and layer on kind of thick around here. It's going to be like a shiny area where the light is bouncing off. And so I'm going to leave this area a little bit lighter, add a little bit more gray. All right, I'm going to go back in with some white. I really should wash the brush, but it's okay. Just going to go a little bit, oops, added too much. Just wanted to add a little highlight there. Can come in here and do very sporadic, but I want to have more white around the knee. I'm going to go ahead with some more white and go up here to these areas. And because the black is wet, what happens is it's going to start creating a gray. But I want to keep a strip right here that's dark, so that way I can have the difference of the knee and the stomach, so I can show a difference there. So here, since it's the leg, I only want to do half of my brush. I don't want to be I don't want to be pressing down with my whole entire brush, because then I'm going to get out into the sky and I don't want to do that. So just the side of my brush, just enough to try to fill it in a little bit. I might make her feet a little bit wider so she's got some sort of a whiteness of her feet. All right, I'm liking it. It's coming. So basically we're just gonna add on and keep adding until we get a nice look that we like. Now sometimes when the cats are a little agitated, their hair will stand up. And when the hair stands up, it kind of stands up in a straight line. So that's why the fan brush is good for this. It's coming slowly but surely. It's gonna happen. Just gotta be patient for a minute and it'll happen. Oops, I'm getting a little bit into that sky. And it's okay if she's a little furry, but yeah, not too much. Okay, I'm gonna wash my brush just cause every so often, because the acrylic paint dries quickly and I don't want my brush to get gooey and clumpy. And then also every so often it's a good thing to check your brush and let these little fibers kind of come out together, because sometimes they get all matted together with the gooiness of the paint.
All right, so okay, so now I'm going to go in with some white since I have a lot of black and gray everywhere. And now I'm just going to kind of make ideas. Trying to make little ridges happen and occur. And then also sometimes just to have little lines. Still want to have that furry look going on. So like some areas I did want it to be really dark here, but even just adding these little white swooshes just a little bit, it still helps with the idea of the illusion of the fur. I just add more white in areas where I want there to be more. Every so often I'm wiping off in areas that I'm like, nope. So I can keep it true to the cat. All right. See a little area I want to add just a couple more little highlights. So go a little bit down the leg. Yeah, so far so good. I think that's good for now for the body. I got some highlighty areas and I have some dark areas. I'm liking what I see. And it's pretty much the same thing, so for the rest of the body. I'm going to start with the tail over here, and I'm going to do it in the direction in which the tail's going. So I'm going to be starting from the butt and working around to the tip. Now, I loaded my brush both sides, but I'm only going to press part of it down. And then when I run out of paint, I'm going to flip my brush over and I will apply that paint on. Now I'm using this time with the black to really practice those little brush strokes and get the look. Try to see if I can maybe bend this and curve this around a little bit to try to get those lines. Now I feel like when you add that gray and the white, it just gives it more of an oomph and an extra look to it. Now, if you have a really hard time doing this because the fan brush is really wide, they do sell at the art store fan brushes that are not as big, like is not as wide, and they're a lot smaller. This size that I'm holding right here seems to be a standard size of these brushes. If you are having a really hard time with this, you could use a liner brush that will give you more precision. It will take you longer to paint, but you could get a better result if the fan brush just isn't your thing and it's not happening. And if you don't have a fan brush, don't worry. This is still just, use the liner brush. Oh no.
So I'm going to take a quick moment and just go ahead and do the face. Now I'm going to start from the nose and out. I am going to be losing sight of the mouth, but that's okay. I can always fill that back in. I just remember where it's at. And so think of the nose as the center, and all of the other fur goes away from the center, which is the nose. So the direction of the fur. I do not recommend painting over the nose. I mean, you could and then fill it in, but I'm not going to paint over my nose. Now, so like, since the nose is the center, I'm going to use my brush and I'm going to go straight up, away from the nose. And remember, don't rush. Take your time and enjoy it. Enjoy the moment of peace and tranquility, and just focus on your painting. Alright, so I've got a nice little black area going on. I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush, and then I'm going to go back in, and this time I'm going to choose to do a layer of green. Oops, I forgot to separate my things over here. I want to get a lot of different little, get them all separated. They'll look really cool. Okay, maybe dip a little more paint in there. Okay, so now I'm going to work the tail. Trying to go into the direction of the bend of the tail. Trying to see if I can get some individual little hairs going on. Oh no, I want to keep the sky the blue color. I mean, I always could go back and touch up the sky when I'm done, but then it's going to be a darker area than the rest, and it's kind of going to, the blend that I got going on with all the brush marks and everything is just going to kind of disappear. So I really don't want to touch up the sky unless I really have to. So far, so good. Well, I like what I'm seeing. Now for the face. I'm going to still do the same basic idea where the lines are going, that I'm making, are going to be going away. They're in the direction of away. Oops. I'm gonna go ahead and take a moment and wash my brush. Make sure I get all the moisture out. My paint over here is still wet, so I really don't need to add any water to it. I prefer with this method that my paint be a little bit thicker. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here, separate my little fibers in the brush. Okay, I'm gonna go in and get some white, being careful not to let these fibers get together. So I'm gonna be really light with it. I'm gonna start here. And I'm gonna be very sporadic, almost like I'm creating lines. Could do that one again. I like that. That looks good. So I'm going to have to do the same here. I'm going to be very sparing with the white. Very, very sparing with the white. Less is more when it comes to the white. I'm going to do the face. Alright, okay, so now I feel like I have an even coating of stuff on the face. I do want to have some highlighted areas and some shadowy spaces, just like when I did with the body. So to do that, I'm going to add some more white on the top and make it lighter. It's going to be a lighter area above the nose. I'm going to add a light area for the chin so it stands out from the bottom of the body. And now I'm going to go back in with some black for the darker areas, for the low lights. And I'm going to say the side of the face is going to be a little darker. It's got a little personality. I think I might need to go in just a little bit with a tiny bit of gray. So that way I'm just not two tones, but I got many tones going on. Oops, remember, every so often when you wash your brush, remember to do one of these things. Ooh, that's really nice. I like those strands. That works really well. Yep, that looks good. I like it. All right, so that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and wash my brush. And now if you are happy with this, this is pretty much the end of the painting because we have a lot of paint all over the canvas and all the white areas are painted. But I'm gonna take it a step further and I'm just gonna make this guy really pop and have some extra little oomph to him and a little bit more 3D effect. I still want to do my pink little nose. I mean, the white's looking really cute too, but I'm going to let everything dry first around the cat, and I'm going to do some other things. I want to work on this pumpkin a little bit to make it a little more 3D. I'm going to come in with some yellow, and I'm using my liner brush, and the whole purpose of this is I'm trying on purpose to have lines, like just a whole bunch of like yellowy area, so it's not just all green. I want orange. I don't want to cover the whole thing. I'm almost like not really thinking about what I'm doing and just really quickly doing lines, and I don't want to cover up all the orange. This is going to make the pumpkin a little bit more oomph, like the light is sort of bouncing off of him a little bit. Yeah, I'm liking that so far. It's not really showing up that well on the camera, but in real life here, without the camera, it's looking really great. All right, that's extra tones in there. I'm gonna let that dry. I'll probably go back over it maybe with some brown to give it a little bit more, but for right now, I'm gonna let that dry. Now, I do want to make a little peachy area in my pumpkin so that way it looks like it's been carved and it's got a little thickness to its body. So I'm going to come over here with some orange and with some white, and I'm going to mix a lighter peachy color. So that way our pumpkin is going to appear to be a little bit thicker. This is also a good way to make a really light skin tone, is to have orange mixed in with white. I'm going to come in here. Oops. Nah, it's not quite what I wanted. I think a little darker than that. But you know what? This is almost a pinky kind of color. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the nose. And then, nope, it's too flashy. I think I'm going to have to come back with some pink. But for now, that looks good. I'll let that be for a minute. Add some more orange in there and lighten it up. Or, well, darken it. But I still want a lighter color. I want it to definitely be a orange that stands out from the outside of the pumpkin. So I'm going to paint it in a way that the outside of the pumpkin is very like rough, but yet the inside here that I'm painting by this eye right here, it's all smooth and soft because it's the fleshy part of the pumpkin. I'm going to do the same thing with the eye over here. Make it really soft. I'm going to do the same thing with the mouth. And then I want to do the other side of the mouth as well. So far, so good. I like what I got. I think it's coming. It's not quite there yet, but it's coming. It's getting there. It's doing a little bit of what I think is really cool, and it's looking pretty great. Don't know if I'm set in this color yet, if I really like it that much. I'm going to add a little brown to this just to see what color I get. See if I could, I don't know. Well, it's a little bit duller. It doesn't really look fleshy. I'm going to add a little bit of here. Makes it darker, so it's just more peachy. Let's see what happens if we try some yellow with that color. See what happens there, if that gives us an orange that we like. Ooh, I don't know about this one. Now I'm going to pass on that. Don't like it. I'm going to go ahead and cover that up. I didn't like that color. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute. Really what I need to do is add some red in here. Okay, I'm going to let that be for a minute and let it dry. Now, since I have everything that I want to work on is next to something wet, I'm going to take this moment and really quickly go over some of the wind that I got going on, some of this pressure, because when I was painting the background, I was trying not to, but it happened. I had a couple of boo-boos where I went in onto the gray a little bit, and I really don't like the look that it's making. So I'm just going to go ahead, go in there, and just do another coat on the wind. I'm going to kind of cake on the paint a little bit. I'm not going to be too super specific and precise. I'm just really giving it a second coat and really trying to make the edges a little bit crisper so that where that blue is, and I'm kind of covering some spots. And it really just helps it to stand out. I'm going to go across the tail so that way I have this overlapping effect that's occurring, that the wind is blowing on the cat and it's not just something way far away. I want to touch up these cat whiskers just while I'm here with the color gray. Just kind of give them a little touch up from that blue.
Be careful. I almost went in the black and dipped it in the white on accident. And be careful. Yeah, it's coming out slowly but surely, very slowly. Takes time. But this one's going to be so cool on the wall. Okay. To be a little bit easy on myself, I'm just going to go ahead and turn my painting. That way I'm not putting my hand down in any areas of the canvas that are wet. See, now isn't that looking nice? It's looking very, like, put together a little bit better. Like, I meant to do that. Remember not to go all the way to the moon, so that way the lines here are looking at different and unique. All right, that looks really great. I'm going to touch them up a little bit more, but I want to let them dry first. So, one of the things that I think would be really cool and give it a little bit more of a cartoony look and a more of a polished look is I'm going to go ahead and use some black and outline the hat. I'm going to be careful that I don't put my hand on any wet paint. Now doing this is going to make it appear more polished. like this look. It's coming along. Remember, turn your canvas if you need to, so that way you're not stressing your neck or your arm or your back. Ooh, that looks lovely. Really quick for a second here. When I was painting, I kind of remember how we had done outlines in the eyes. I just want to bring it back a little bit. I kind of lost them. I'm just going to do the top part. That looks pretty cool. I need to just a quick second here so I can get in there a little bit. There we go. I'll let that. All right. Okay, so let's see. What else? I know what we can do that would be really cool to give us a little bit more of a 3D effect. I'm going to go ahead and add some white into this area of the wind. But before I do that, so I'm not mixing a lighter gray, I'm going to take my hair dryer and I'm going to dry the wind a little bit. So I'll see you in like 3 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to go and clean my liner brush really well. I'm going to go in with some white paint, and I'm going to almost do a little bit of dry brushing, and I'm going to be very specific. And I'm just going to kind of swoosh, swoosh. Oops, oh, I don't like that one. Oh well, we'll continue. Swoosh. This is going to give some movement. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing over here. I'm going to turn my canvas so I'm not stretching. I'm going to do the same thing with swooshes. Yep, just like that. That really gives some extra 3D movement going on in there. Okay. Let's see. Decisions. Now you can put little eyes in your spider if you want to. I'm going to choose not to put eyes because these guys are all looking and it's like he's looking away. Like we're seeing the bottom part of him. So I think it kind of makes that fun. Okay, so how about we add, I don't know. I think I would like to add a little bit of dark brown, or well, just brown, to my pumpkin to give him a little bit more 3D atmosphere going on here. I'm going to be extremely sparing with this. And I'm just going to give him some random little lines. There, he's got a little bit of a face going on, a little bit of a snarl. Probably give him a little bit of an outline. Really just in areas where that blue is kind of sticking over. Just trying to cover up some of that blue that got into the orange area. A little bit of random lines here and there. Just to give him some gnarly expression.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Okay. I'm not liking the flesh tone of the pumpkin. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of red onto my palette so I can make like a pink for the nose. And I'm going to kind of work on more of an orangey orange. So add just a tiny bit. Don't need a whole lot. Alright, so I'm going to have a little bit of red, and I'm going to come in here with the white and mix it, and I'm going to get a nice pretty pink. The more red you add to the white, the darker your pink's going to be. The more white you add to the red, the lighter the pink's going to be. I'm going to come over here and fill in the nose. Yeah, I like that color way better. Okay, so now I have a little pinky pinkness. Let's see what it looks like if we add it to the pumpkin. Don't know about the pink. I think I'm gonna have to make it an executive decision that the pink was not good. But if I go back over this with an orange, because I have the undertone of pink right now, it might look really cool. So I'm gonna take that, let it dry for a second. I'm gonna add a little bit here too. Well, I'm gonna add a little bit here, like it's the under part of the tooth. Like this one's got a little bit too that we could see more of the bottom part of that tooth. Okay, so now I'm gonna go without washing my brush. I'm just gonna go into the orange. I'm gonna do a layer and see how that's kind of affecting it. Kind of gonna blend on the canvas because the paint's kind of wet. Maybe if this is gonna give it a better of a fleshy tone, because I do want it to be different and stand out in color from the other part of the pumpkin. It's looking pretty good, so it kind of stands out a little bit. Yeah, that looks cool, very fleshy. One thing I can do to make it stand out a little bit more is adding just the highlights of some black. Just help make that transition a little bit more noticeable. There we go. See, doesn't that kind of stand out nicely? It makes it pop. Make a couple of these. There we go, just a couple. Give him some more definition. I'm liking that. I could do a little, just a line here and there. Ooh, yeah, he's scary. He's getting really scary out in that low light there. Making him really scary. This is so much fun. I'm totally in the Halloween spirit. This is fun. Wow. Wonder what would happen if I gave it an eye. Right there. Woo! Yeah. Okay, so I've got my pumpkin. Everything's going on. Then we kind of neglected the hat just a little bit. I'm going to go in with, I want a darker brown. So I'm going to take the black I have, mix it in with this brown that I have. See if I can get it to be just a little bit darker. Can add some more orange in there. Okay, don't want a gray. It's a darker brown. I'm liking this shade. Yeah, there's a good dark brown. When it comes to color mixing, the best way you're going to learn is just by doing it and experimenting and trying things, and eventually you'll get something you like. It takes a while. Just experiment and play with it. I'm going to go ahead and make some little swooshes. And just swooshes. So it kind of is going to make the hat appear to be kind of a straw hat a little bit. Or just like that it has character. It's got some dirty spots in it and just got some areas, you know, it's a little oomph. I could always then follow that through with another color. I'm going to go with that lighter color. Mix some white in there and lighten it up maybe. Of course, it's not really a brown. See if we add some red in there and get a pink. Nope, not what I want yet. Take this pink and let's go over to the yellow. Nope, not quite. Let's go over to the blue. Now we're getting a green. Kind of a gray. I see in a gray. Let's go back into that brown. See if we got a different tone of brown. Kind of add some light, some white to it. Lighten up. Yeah, this is like a different kind of shade. I'm liking this brown. See if we can Add some more little swooshes. Some really a gray. Kind of wiping it all in there in different areas. Okay, I'm going to go in with some black. Get that going in. I'm pretty much just working it until I see something that I like. Back and forth, back and forth. Oops. Okay, so that's good undertone. I'm going to go back, wash my brush, and go back into some brown. And I think I pretty much am done with this painting. Yeah. Oh, oops. I got paint all over my face. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, do it again, wipe off my brush. I'm going to clean it good. I'm going to go back in with my brown, and I'm just going to work on it back and forth, applying paint until I get something I like, and I'm going to make sure that my hat is really super streaky. That's on purpose. And I want lots of tones.